When love turns to betrayal and trust is shattered, one man's discovery of infidelity propels him into a tale of revenge and redemption. Betrayed by the one he loved, he embarks on a quest for revenge, plotting a reveal that will shake the foundations of trust and fidelity. But as the lines between justice and vengeance blur, a deeper question arises: can the heart ever truly recover from betrayal? This tale of love, deception, and the search for redemption will challenge everything you thought you knew about forgiveness. Brace yourself for a journey where the next choice could heal a soul or shatter it completely. The saga begins now. I am 28 years old and my wife is 27. We've been together for a total of 5 years, officially married for 3. We don't have any children yet. Both of us have jobs at pretty good companies. We're living in a rented apartment as we haven't bought any property together. We don't have any loans to worry about, which is nice. We keep our savings in separate accounts, even though we make about the same amount of money. It was 10 days ago when my whole world started to spin. I overheard my wife talking on the phone. She seemed to hurry off the call the moment I walked into the room, which struck me as odd. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So, at about 3 a.m., I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone. I noticed right away that the call logs for that evening, around 9 p.m., were gone. It felt like a punch to the stomach. Not stopping there, I started to look through her apps and found Telegram. This was a surprise to me. We always use WhatsApp to talk to each other and everyone else we know. Finding out she was using another app for messaging, one I had never heard her mention before, made my heart sink even more. Seeing that app on her phone, I realized there was a whole part of her life I knew nothing about. It was like discovering a secret door in a house you've lived in for years. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew I couldn't just ignore it. This wasn't just about her talking to someone else. It was about the trust I thought we had, which now felt broken. It's a hard pill to swallow, knowing that the person you share your life with has secrets they're not willing to share with you. For the past 3 months, work has consumed almost all of my time. I've been in the thick of competing for a promotion against 2 other colleagues. This meant long hours and weekends spent at the office, leaving little time for anything else, including time at home. It was during this period of intense focus on my career that I stumbled upon the truth about my wife's affair. She had been involved with a work colleague for about 9 weeks by the time I found out. The evidence was right there on her phone. They were sexting each other, exchanging nudes in various poses. It was a shock to see such intimate exchanges. It was clear from their messages that this was about seeking pleasure and fun. She seemed to emphasize to him that their interactions were nothing serious, insisting they were not to think of it as anything more than physical enjoyment. They had met up and been physical 4 times. Discovering this felt like a blow to my chest. I managed to take screenshots of everything, a digital record of the betrayal, but I couldn't bring myself to confront her. The thought of confronting her filled me with dread. I was shaken to my core, fearing that bringing it up would be the end of our marriage. The possibility of losing everything over this affair paralyzed me. I found myself in a state of disbelief and turmoil, questioning how the person I shared my life with could have kept such a secret and how our relationship could possibly move forward from here. In the days following my discovery, I felt completely numb, lost in a sea of confusion and pain. My wife noticed something was off and asked if I was okay. I lied, saying I had problems at the office. The same question came from my colleagues, to whom I told a different lie, that my aunt had passed away. I couldn't bear to be at work, so I took a 2-week leave. I revealed the true reason only to HR, that my wife was cheating on me. Then, 4 days ago, the situation escalated. She was planning a trip, supposedly for work, but I knew the truth. She was going to meet him at a hotel. That morning, the stress and heartache overwhelmed me. I threw up and came down with a high fever. I begged her to stay, but she insisted the work trip was too important to cancel. At that moment, I decided that our marriage was over. Desperate for evidence, I asked my brother to follow her and take photos. Yesterday, he succeeded in capturing a picture of her kissing the other man. Seeing that photo broke me. I cried more than I ever had. I wanted to drown my sorrows in alcohol, but my brother stopped me. My thoughts turned dark, seeking revenge. I planned to tell her I was also having an affair. I knew well she would play the victim and spread the story among her friends and her conservative parents, who would undoubtedly be furious with me. Then, as the final move in this twisted game, I would reveal the truth, showing everyone the proof of her infidelity. I believed that once I did, no one would ever believe her side of the story again, not even her own parents. The thought of this plan gave me a cold, hollow sense of satisfaction amidst the ruins of our marriage. I reached out to my father's friend, who also happens to be our neighbor and a lawyer. He assured me that with the evidence I had, the divorce process should be straightforward. The only thing we'd really need to discuss was the jewelry, some of which my mother had given to my wife. It seemed like everything else in our lives was clearly separated, making the division of assets less complicated than it might have been otherwise. The decision to leave our shared apartment became the next step. I planned to move in with a friend who had an extra room. He lives alone, and the idea of having somewhere else to go, a space where I could start to process everything away from the reminders of my marriage, felt like a small mercy in the midst of this chaos. As I write this, I'm waiting for her to come home. I've already taken off my wedding ring, a symbol of a promise that now feels hollow. It's a small gesture, but one that signifies the end of this chapter in my life. I'm asking for luck, or maybe just strength, as I face this next step. But beyond that, I'm looking for advice on how to heal. The pain of betrayal is deep, and I know the road ahead is going to be difficult. How do I move on from this? How do I rebuild my life and find a way to trust again? The thought of starting over is daunting, but I know it's necessary. Any guidance on healing from such a profound hurt would be greatly appreciated. Update. Since posting my story, there's been a significant development. It's clear my wife is full of remorse for her actions. She's been doing everything I could possibly ask for to make things right. Yet, I'm left wrestling with a difficult question. Should I forgive her? When I confronted her with the news of my own affair, she was utterly shocked. I had planned to leave quickly. My clothes were already packed in my car. But she wouldn't let me go without a fight. She bombarded me with questions. Who is she? Her words became a jumbled mess, and in a moment of overwhelming frustration, I shouted, "Let go!" It was louder than I've ever raised my voice in the 5 years we've been together. Then I ran my car and drove away. She tried to reach out to me, calling at least 10 times. I blocked her number, but then the texts started flooding in, hundreds of them. Eventually, I warned her to stop texting, or I'd block her number entirely. I suggested we discuss our future in a few days, if she could respect my space. The barrage of texts slowed and finally stopped. We agreed to meet after 3 days. When I saw her, it was clear she was in a bad place. She looked weak, as if she hadn't eaten since our last encounter, and her eyes were swollen from crying. The sight of her in such a state sparked a turmoil of emotions inside me. It's one thing to be angry and hurt, but seeing someone you've shared so much of your life with such pain is another thing entirely. Now, as I reflect on our meeting and her evident remorse, I'm torn between the desire to move past this betrayal and the lingering feelings of hurt and mistrust. The question of forgiveness is a heavy one, and I'm still searching for the right answer. As she began to speak, my wife admitted she knew there was never another woman. She understood that an affair wasn't something I would do, especially given how little free time I had. Her opening words were about her own affair. That, how deeply she regretted it, and her wish for forgiveness. We talked for about 30 minutes before I couldn't hold the truth in any longer. I told her that my claim of having an affair was false. In response, she explained that her trip was real, but it had an extra day, added not for work, but for her to fool around. That's why she hadn't been there when I was sick and needed her. When I asked to see her phone, she handed it over without hesitation. To my surprise, nothing was deleted. She had already told her affair partner that it was over and had blocked him. She insisted he meant nothing to her and that I was the only one she loved. She had even informed her HR department about the situation. She was planning to quit her job and had revealed the affair to her partner's wife, providing her with proof that very evening. I told her I didn't believe her and still wanted a divorce. Her reaction was immediate and emotional. She began to cry, begging for another chance. The conversation lasted around 2 hours, and just as it was concluding, a woman appeared at our home. My wife introduced her as the affair partner's wife. She then proceeded to apologize to her, offering proof of the affair through photos and texts of them together. Watching my wife plead for forgiveness from both of us, presenting evidence of her infidelity, as if to clear the air, left me in a complex state of emotion. Her actions showed remorse and a willingness to make amends, yet the betrayal still stung deeply. The path to healing and decision-making seemed more complicated than ever. As I weighed the sincerity of her apologies against the hurt her actions had caused. The confrontation with the affair partner's wife was intense. She cried and cursed at my wife, expressing a bitter wish that our marriage would end. Before she left, I gave her my number, offering to provide any additional proof she might need. After she was gone, I turned to my wife with a heavy question, asking what she thought our future would look like now. We had plans to buy a home this year, and dreams of starting a family next year. But she couldn't answer me. She was speechless as I walked away, leaving her standing alone with her guilt and regrets. At that moment, I could see the remorse etched deeply on my wife's face. There was no doubt she was sorry, and I believed she wouldn't make the same mistake again. But that left me wrestling with a painful question. Why should I give her another chance? I had spent the last 5 years pouring all my love and efforts into making our lives better, believing that one chance was all anyone needed to prove their love and commitment. The next day, my reflections were interrupted by a call from her father. His voice was heavy with regret as he apologized for his daughter's actions. He acknowledged that the decision to divorce was mine to make, but he urged me to consider her sincerity in seeking forgiveness. He believed his daughter deserved another chance. Hearing her father's plea added another layer of complexity to my already tumultuous thoughts. It wasn't just about my relationship with my wife anymore. It was about our families, our shared history, and the future we had envisioned together. The path forward seemed clouded with doubt and hurt, but also with the possibility of forgiveness and healing. The decision I faced was monumental, not just for me, but for everyone involved. Since our last encounter, life has somehow moved on, yet remained paused in a peculiar way. I resumed going to the office, finding solace in the routine and distraction of work. As for my wife, contrary to her intentions to resign, she remains at her job. I learned through a connection from HR on Facebook that her affair partner was the one who ended up leaving the company. It seems HR decided to let him go instead, citing my wife's critical role in the team as the reason for her retention. Despite these developments, my wife hasn't stopped trying to reach out. She texts me constantly, and I recently found out she even went to my brother's place, mistakenly thinking I was staying there. When she realized I wasn't, she left immediately. So, here I am, caught in a limo of emotions and decisions. The truth is, her remorse is palpable. She's done everything in her power to show how sorry she is, yet the question of forgiveness looms large over me. I still love her deeply, that much is clear to me, but the fear of ending up in a toxic or loveless marriage haunts my thoughts. Love isn't just about affection, it's about trust, respect, and mutual support. Can we rebuild what was lost, or is the foundation too cracked to repair? I long for a relationship where trust is implicit, where I don't have to second-guess my partner's actions or intentions. The path to healing and possibly forgiving seems daunting. It's not just about whether she can change or if her remorse is genuine. It's about whether I can overcome the hurt and betrayal to offer us both a second chance at happiness. The decision before me isn't simple. It's tangled with love, hurt, and the possibility of a future either together or apart. I find myself wondering, can love truly conquer all, or are some damages too deep to mend? The answer isn't clear, and as I ponder my next steps, I realize this journey is as much about healing myself as it is about deciding the fate of our marriage. As this chapter of my life slowly draws to a close, and yet another begins to unfold, I find myself standing at the crossroads of forgiveness and self-discovery. The journey I embarked upon, filled with love, betrayal, and the quest for understanding, has brought me to a place of deep introspection. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the complex tapestry of emotions that bind us together. In the silence of my thoughts, I've come to realize that healing is not a destination, but a journey. One that requires patience, courage, and the willingness to forgive not just others, but oneself. The path ahead may not be clear, and the shadows of the past may linger, but the possibility of a new dawn filled with trust, love, and joy remains within reach. As I ponder the future, I am reminded that every story has its ups and downs. While this chapter may be ending, the book of my life is far from complete. With a heart open to forgiveness and eyes set on the horizon, I step forward, ready to embrace whatever comes next with grace and strength. To those who have walked with me through this tale of heartache and hope, thank you for your empathy and guidance. May we all find the peace and happiness we seek in the knowledge that after every storm there is calm, and after every night there is a dawn waiting to greet us with the promise of a new day. And so, with a deep breath and a hopeful heart, I move forward, carrying the lessons of the past and the dreams of the future. The road to healing is paved with the choices we make, and I choose to walk it with love, forgiveness, and the unwavering belief that, in the end, everything will find its place in the grand scheme of life. As we reach the end of this emotional journey, the story doesn't have to stop here. If your heart is still thirsty for tales of love, betrayal, and the incredible strength of the human spirit, we've got more for you. Dive deeper into the complexities of relationships and the resilience needed to overcome life's toughest challenges by checking out our other videos. Each story is a new adventure, a new lesson in the art of living and loving. So, don't let the journey end. Click on the videos appearing on your screen and continue to explore the depths of the human heart with us. Remember, every story has its scars, but it's how we heal them that truly defines us. Join us on this endless exploration of love, loss, and redemption. Your next adventure awaits.